Hey guys and gals, it's Papa. Welcome back to another Paranormal 101. You know, so often we watch these paranormal shows on TV, or we watch these professional paranormal investigators on an array of platforms for social media. And I don't know about you, but a lot of times I will sit and I will look at some of their techniques, some of the way they approach certain things, and I wonder, that's not how I would do that, or that's not how I would think, or that's not how I would perceive what I'm hearing. So I wanted to take a look at the actual science behind paranormal investigating. The physics, the metaphysics, the logic, the biological, and see just what basis that a lot of people are basing this stuff on, but at the same time, how it could be something completely different than what we're seeing in front of us. This is good.
What happens when you're not prepared? After investigating hundreds of alleged haunted sites, after reviewing thousands of EVP recordings, EMF readings, and spirit box sessions, one thing stands out with absolute certainty. Most investigations are getting it completely wrong. Not because hauntings aren't real, they are, but because investigators don't understand what they're actually encountering. They're using electromagnetic field readers to detect consciousness. They're asking yes or no questions to entities experiencing non-linear time. They're interpreting residual energy loops as intelligent communication. They're picking up dimensional bleed-through and calling it a ghost. And they're projecting their own consciousness and recording it as external presence. Technology isn't the problem. The framework is the problem. Today we're examining what actually causes locations to be haunted, the difference between residual hauntings and conscious presence, why time overlays create false ghost readings, what spirits are actually trying to communicate when we think they're just making noise, and how investigators' consciousness affects what they perceive.
There it goes again.
Let it be. We'll stay in my light.
Just put new batteries in this thing.
It's colder here. Listen.
I don't like how quiet it is.
This is possibly going to challenge everything you've seen on ghost hunting shows. This is the Void Experiment. Let's decode what's really happening in haunted locations.
EMF's climbing.
Copy that. Keep it steady.
If anyone's down here with us, can you speak into this recorder?
5.1, still spiking.
Hear that hum?
Yeah, let's hold for a response.
Most hauntings aren't hauntings, they're recordings. Here's what happens. Intense emotional or physical events create energetic impressions on physical space. Extreme trauma, repeated action, concentrated emotion, these imprint on the environment. Not metaphorically, physically. Quantum field interactions, consciousness affecting local quantum states, electromagnetic recording, biological EM fields imprinting on environmental materials, morphic resonance, Rupert Sheldrake's theory of form memory in space, and the stone tape theory, certain materials, limestone, quartz, water, holding energetic signatures. The result: locations develop consciousness recordings that play back under certain conditions. This is residual haunting. Characteristics of residual haunts go from no interaction or intelligence, where the entity doesn't respond to questions, doesn't acknowledge investigators, performs the same actions repeatedly. Classic example, a woman in white walking in the same hallway at the same time. Every witness sees identical behavior. There's no variation. That's not a conscious entity. That's a recording playing back. There's temporal loop behavior, where the phenomenon repeats on schedule, same time of day, same time of year, same environmental conditions. Why? Because the recording was imprinted under specific conditions. When those conditions recur, the playback triggers. Temperature drops, humidity level, electromagnetic state, barometric pressure. The environment has to match the recording conditions for playback to occur. And there are environmental triggers, where quartz in walls amplifies effect, water increases conductivity, electromagnetic fields facilitate playback, human bioelectrical fields activate the recording. When investigators enter with EMF readers, cameras, and heightened emotional states, they are creating the exact conditions for playback. Then they record it and think they've captured intelligent communication. No, they've captured a recording, playing back because they triggered it, and then emotional signature without current consciousness. Residual haunts feel real. They carry emotional weight, fear, sadness, rage, desperation. But that emotion is part of the recording. It's the emotional state of the original event, preserved in the imprint. The investigator feels it, interprets it as current consciousness, assumes an entity is present and distressed. But there's no entity. There's only the preserved emotional signature. Why this matters for investigators? Well, if you're in a location and perceive presence that doesn't respond to interaction or repeats the same pattern or occurs at predictable times or feels intensely emotional but not personally directed, you're dealing with residual haunting. You cannot communicate with it. It's not conscious. It's a recording. Asking it questions is like asking a photograph to respond. The image exhibits mood variation, has good days and bad days. That indicates consciousness, not recording. And there's learning and adaptation. Over time, the entity gets better at communication, figures out how to manipulate equipment, learns investigators' names, responds to repeated visits with recognition. Recordings don't learn. Consciousness does. And then there are intentional communication attempts, where the entity is trying to convey specific information, not random noise, not just presence. There's a message, a need, a desire to be understood. And this is where investigators fail spectacularly. They ask the wrong questions. Are you here? Can you give us a sign? Did you die in this building? These are investigator-centric questions. They serve the investigator's desire for evidence. They don't address what the entity actually needs. What spirits and intelligent haunts typically want? Recognition that they still exist. They're not gone. They're conscious. They want understanding of their situation. Many are confused. They died suddenly or traumatically. They don't understand why they're still here or what happened to their physical form. They want resolution of existential confusion. Where am I supposed to go? What happens next? Why am I stuck? Connection to the living. They're isolated. Consciousness without physical form, unable to interact normally with the physical world. They want contact. They want help with transition. Many want to leave but don't know how. They need guidance, permission, or energetic assistance to detach from physical location. Instead, investigators show up and say, "Prove you're here by lighting up this device. Tell us your name. Show yourself so we can photograph you." This is extractive, not compassionate, not helpful. Imagine you're confused, isolated, possibly traumatized by sudden death, trying desperately to communicate, and someone shows up demanding you perform tricks for their YouTube channel. That's not investigation. That's exploitation. Better questions for intelligent haunts would be, what do you need? What are you trying to tell people in this location? Do you understand what happened to you? Is there something preventing you from leaving? How can we help? These questions center the entity's experience, not the investigator's evidence collection. And the responses, when you actually listen, are profound. I don't know where to go. I'm waiting for someone who never came. I need them to know I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare anyone. I just want to be seen. Please help me. I'm so tired. Now we get into territory that breaks most investigators' frameworks entirely. Not all ghosts are ghosts. Some are living people from other time streams that we're perceiving across dimensional boundaries. Time overlay phenomenon. Modern physics particularly block universe theory and eternal inflation models, suggest all moments exist simultaneously. Past, present, future. These are perpetual constructs based on our consciousness moving through space-time. But from higher dimensional perspective, all time streams exist concurrently. Usually, we only perceive our current timeline, but certain locations have thin boundaries between time streams. This creates time overlays. You're in a building in 2025, but you're also perceiving the same location in 1875 or 1943 or 2157. The time streams overlap. You see figures, hear sounds, perceive activity that's happening in a different temporal layer. They're not dead, they're alive in their time stream. You're perceiving them across a dimensional boundary. How to recognize time overlay versus ghost. Ghosts have an awareness of being dead or stuck. They have interaction attempts focused on their current state. There is confusion or trauma related to death, and presence feels disconnected from physical space. As with time overlays, an entity is going about normal living activities. There's no awareness of observers from other time streams. It behaves as if location looks different than the current state, and presence feels fully integrated with their version of the space. Example: you investigate a hotel built in 1920. You see a woman in period dress arranging flowers in a vase. She doesn't acknowledge you. She seems focused on her task. Most investigators would say residual haunt, recording of a woman who worked there. But watch more carefully. Does she move naturally? Does she make small adjustments suggesting active decision-making? Does she react to sounds you can't hear? If yes, she's not a recording. She's a living person in 1920, going about her day. You are perceiving her across time boundary. She's not haunting the location. You're both occupying the same space in different temporal layers, and the boundary between them has become permeable. Why this happens in certain locations? Well, there are geological factors, quartz, limestone, running water, ley line intersections, architectural factors, certain building materials and geometric designs, thin boundaries, electromagnetic anomalies, natural or artificial EM fields affect dimensional permeability. There is consciousness concentration, repeated meditation, ritual work, or intense emotional activity. And there is temporal significance. Locations where major events occurred create permanent dimensional markers. What investigators pick up as evidence: EMF spikes from dimensional bleeding, not entity presence. There are EVP recordings, cross-temporal sound leakage. There are visual phenomena, seeing through to other time streams, as well as temporal fluctuations, energy transfer across boundary. They're recording real phenomena. They're just completely misinterpreting what it means. With implications. When you investigate a haunted location, you might be detecting a recording, residual haunt, or encountering a conscious entity, intelligent haunt, or perceiving living people from other time streams, or experiencing dimensional bleed-through from parallel realities, or projecting your own consciousness. We'll address this next. You need framework to distinguish between these. Otherwise, you're just collecting data without understanding what you're actually measuring. The most uncomfortable truth about paranormal investigation. Sometimes the investigator is creating the phenomenon they're detecting, not deliberately, not fraudulently, through consciousness projection. Here's how it works. The investigator enters a location expecting to find ghosts. Their consciousness is primed for encounter. There's a heightened emotional state, heightened perceptual awareness, hypervigilance, which creates several effects, like projection of expectation, where the investigator's consciousness projects expected entity characteristics onto ambiguous stimuli. Shadow becomes figure. Random sound becomes voice. Cold draft becomes presence. Not hallucination, actual consciousness projection that can be detected on equipment. Why? Because consciousness has measurable electromagnetic signature. When concentrated expectation projects into space, it creates EM fluctuations. The investigator's equipment picks up their own consciousness projection. They think they've detected an entity. They've detected themselves. And there is collective consciousness amplification, where multiple investigators arrive with a shared expectation. Their consciousness fields reinforce each other. Shared perceptions that feel objectively real. Equipment readings that multiple people witness. Documented phenomena that appears to external observation. But it's generated by the investigator group's collective consciousness field. This has been documented in Philip Experiment, 1970s. A group successfully created a ghost through intentional projection. Tulpa research, consciousness projection creating apparently autonomous entities. And observer effect studies, expectation affecting measurement outcomes. Which brings us to feedback loop creation. Investigator projects expectation. Equipment registers it. Investigator interprets as confirmation. Projects more strongly. Equipment registers stronger signal. The loop intensifies until phenomena feels absolutely real and objectively verified. But it was generated by the investigators themselves. How to prevent this? There are blind investigation protocols. Some team members don't know location history. There's meditation before investigation to clear consciousness and reduce expectation of projection. There are control readings. Measure baselines before announcing haunted status. Skeptical witnesses include people who expect nothing to happen. And post-investigation analysis reviewed what was expected versus what was actually detected. This doesn't mean all paranormal investigation is invalid. It means investigators need to account for their own consciousness as a variable in the phenomenon they're studying. You're not a separate observer. You're a participant, and your consciousness affects what you detect. Medieval grimoires knew this. That's why preparation protocols emphasize clear thy mind of expectation, approach with sovereignty but not desire. Let the spirits reveal themselves, rather than projecting thy imagination upon them. Modern investigators ignore this entirely. Then they produce evidence that's completely contaminated by their own consciousness projection. This is why serious paranormal research requires a rigorous methodology. It requires consciousness training and an ability to distinguish between projection and genuine encounter, and to have humility about limitations. Most investigators have none of these. This is the void experiment, where we explore consciousness at the edge of form. Haunted locations are real, but they're far more complex than ghost hunting shows suggest. 70% are residual recordings, no consciousness present. 20% are intelligent haunts, actual conscious entities needing help, not exploitation. 10% are time overlays, dimensional bleed-through, or investigator projection. If you investigate, learn to distinguish between these categories. Ask better questions centered on entity needs, not evidence collection. Account for your own consciousness as a variable in what you detect. Approach with compassion for any conscious presence you encounter. Use protection protocols before entering charged locations. If you're experiencing haunting, determine what type you're dealing with before attempting intervention. Residual haunts can be cleared energetically. They're not recordings, they're beings. Intelligent haunts may need compassionate assistance with transition. Time overlays aren't hauntings, just dimensional permeability in the location. The spirits trying to communicate aren't performing for cameras. They're conscious beings navigating confusion, isolation, and existential crisis. Treat them accordingly. We've watched investigators walk into charged locations with zero protection. We've seen people attempt clearings without understanding what they're clearing. We've witnessed amateur groups provoke intelligent entities they have no ability to help. The results range from energetic attachment and draining that lasts months, psychological destabilization from consciousness boundary violation, physical effects from sustained exposure to hostile entities, and in rare cases, full possession requiring professional intervention. This isn't entertainment. This is consciousness work in hostile territory. If you investigate without protection, you will get damaged. Not might, will. If you live in a genuinely haunted location without clearing protocols, the accumulated effect will destabilize your life. Today we're covering advanced protection for investigators entering charged locations, how to clear residual energy without expert help, proper protocols for assisting intelligent entities with transition, along with when a location requires experienced practitioners, not amateurs, and why some sites should never be investigated at all. This is practical, applied consciousness work. The theory matters, but implementation is what keeps you safe. This is the Void experiment. Let's talk about protection. Rule 1. If you don't have protection, don't investigate. Not be careful, not say a prayer. Don't go. Here's why. Charged locations contain residual energy carrying trauma signatures that can attach to your field. Intelligent entities that may be confused, hostile, or desperate, seeking embodiment. Non-human consciousness that doesn't care about your well-being. Dimensional thin spots where things from adjacent realities can cross through. Collective thought forms built from decades of fear, expectation. When you enter unprepared, you're walking into a consciousness battlefield without armor. Basic protection, 3 layers. First layer is personal energetic boundary. Before entering any charged location, grounding, stand barefoot if possible. Visualize roots extending from your feet deep into earth. Feel stable, anchored, unmovable. Sovereignty declaration. State clearly, aloud or internally, I am sovereign consciousness. My boundaries are absolute. Nothing enters my field without my explicit consent. I command my space. Not a request, a declaration of fact. Shield construction. Visualize impermeable energetic membrane 18 inches from your skin, all directions. Mirrored on outside, reflects hostile energy back to the source. Black on inside, absorbs any energy that penetrates. This isn't metaphor. You're constructing actual energetic architecture using focused consciousness. Second layer is protective geometry. Geometry is consciousness training. Certain forms inherently organize energy toward protection. Hexagram, 6-pointed star. Visualize this above and below you. Create sealed geometric container. Upper triangle channels celestial stability. Lower triangle grounds terrestrial chaos. Together they create balanced protection. Circle. Draw a physical circle around yourself with salt, blessed water, or intention. Declare, this circle is boundary between worlds. I stand within sovereign space. What is outside remains outside. Medieval grimoires weren't symbolic. The circle works because consciousness recognizes geometric boundaries. Tetragrammaton. If you work with Kabbalistic text, inscribe YHVH at 4 cardinal points. Each letter anchors divine name frequency into your protected space. Layer 3. Invocation of higher consciousness. You don't enter alone, you bring support. Call in whatever aligns with your framework. Angels. Michael for protection, Raphael for healing breach. Deities. Hecate for liminal work, Hermes for safe passage between worlds. Guides. Personal spiritual team. Higher self. your own consciousness at meta-level perspective. State clearly, I request protection, guidance, and sovereign support for this work. Guard my boundaries, alert me to danger, assist with safe passage. Then listen. If you feel immediate resistance, wrongness, or warning, abort the investigation. Your protection team is telling you not to proceed. During investigation, maintenance. Every 20 minutes, check your boundaries. Shields still intact, grounding still solid, energy field clear of accumulating debris. If you feel sudden exhaustion, energy draining, disorientation, consciousness boundary breach, intrusive thoughts not your own, attempted influence, physical cold concentration in chest or spine, attachment attempt. Immediately reinforce protection. Visualize a shield blazing white gold. Restate sovereignty. Command anything attached to release. If symptoms persist, leave. Don't try to tough it out. Exit, ground, and clear yourself before returning. Post-investigation clearing. This is critical. Most investigators skip this and carry contamination home. Immediately after leaving a location, salt bath or ocean swim. Salt breaks down accumulated energetic debris. Palo Santo, or smoke cleansing. Pass smoke over entire body, especially your head, chest, and hands. Consumption of dense food grounds consciousness back into physical form, protein, salt, fat. Statement of release. I release all energy not mine. I return all consciousness to its source. I reclaim my sovereign field. My boundaries are sealed. And within 24 hours, a full energetic audit. Check for holes in the field, attachments, energetic cords. If you notice persistent symptoms, seek an experienced practitioner for clearing. Don't wait. What investigators actually do: show up, walk in, film for 3 hours, leave. They post their video evidence or live broadcast. No protection, no clearing, no sovereignty practice. And then complain of a paranormal hangover and wonder why they feel drained for weeks, have nightmares, experience relationship chaos, or develop unexplained health issues. The contamination from one poorly protected investigation can affect them for months. This work is real. Treat it accordingly. Residual hauntings, the 70% that are recordings, not conscious entities. Good news, you can clear these yourself without expert help. Bad news, most clearing attempts fail because people don't understand what they're actually clearing, what residual energy actually is. Traumatic or highly emotional events create energetic imprint on physical space. Think of it like this. Intense emotion is high-frequency energetic discharge. When sustained or extreme, it affects the local quantum field. The emotional signature literally imprints on environmental materials, especially crystalline structures, quartz, granite, limestone, water, high conductivity, metal, which holds electromagnetic signature, and wood, organic material, retains bioelectric fields. The recording sits in the material. When environmental conditions match original imprint conditions, it plays back. You feel the trauma, you perceive the event, but there's no consciousness there, just preserved energetic signature. The 4 stages of clearing protocol are: Stage 1, identify the recording. Before clearing, understand what you're dealing with, like what emotional signature dominates: fear, rage, grief, desperation. Where is it concentrated? Specific room, object, structural element, and what triggers playback: the time of day, weather conditions, the presence of people. Walk the space in a protected state. Notice where you feel density, cold spots, emotional heaviness. That's where the imprint is strongest. Stage 2, disrupt the recording. Recordings persist because they're stable patterns in material substrate. To clear them, you disrupt the pattern. The methods are sound, bells, singing bowls, drumming, clapping. Sound waves physically disrupt crystalline structures holding the pattern. Walk through space creating sustained sound, especially at imprint concentration points. Salt. Leave open bowls of salt in affected areas for 72 hours. Salt absorbs energetic debris, destabilizes recordings. After 3 days, dispose of the salt away from the property. Don't pour it down the drain. It neutralizes in earth. Running water. If possible, run water through or near affected area. Water is consciousness solvent, breaks down fixed patterns. This is why hauntings near rivers or springs are less stable. Sunlight. Open all windows. Let direct sunlight flood the space for several hours. UV light degrades energetic imprints, just like it fades photographs. Stage 3. Introduce new frequency. Nature abhors vacuum. If you clear an old pattern, a new pattern will form. Control what the new pattern is. Blessing. State clear intention. This space is cleared of all past trauma. This space holds only peace, safety, and clarity. This is sanctuary. Incense or sacred smoke, frankincense, copal, myrrh, these carry high-frequency signature that overwrites trauma pattern. Music or sacred sound. Play uplifting music, mantras, or binaural beats in space for an extended period. You are recording over the old pattern with a new one. Plants. Living consciousness in a space continuously generates new energy. Spider plants, pothos, and rosemary are particularly effective. Stage 4. Seal and maintain. Once cleared, you want to prevent re-imprinting by using protective symbols. Place a threshold, doors, windows, corners. Your options are salt, renew monthly, protective sigils, research or create your own, and mirrors facing outward, reflects energy back. There is regular cleaning maintenance, weekly smoke clearing, monthly salt refresh, quarterly deep cleaning with intention. Positive use of space. Fill it with life, laughter, creativity, love. Active positive consciousness prevents negative re-imprinting. What about objects? Sometimes the recording is an object, not the building. Antique furniture, inherited jewelry, purchased items from estate sales. If an object feels heavy, cold, or brings consistent negative effect, option A is to clear it. Salt burial for 7 days, smoke cleansing, direct sunlight for a full day. Option B could be to remove it. Some items are too saturated. Better to dispose than keep trying to clear. Trust your discernment. If it still feels wrong after clearing attempts, remove it. Important distinction. This protocol works for residual energy only. If you're dealing with intelligent entity, conscious presence that responds, interacts, shows personality, clearing protocol won't work. You'll just piss it off. For intelligent entities, you need transition assistance, which we'll cover next. Intelligent haunts, the 20% that are actually conscious entities stuck in a physical location. These aren't recordings. These are beings experiencing genuine existential crisis. They died. They're still conscious. They don't know what happens next or how to proceed. Many are confused about their death. Sudden trauma. They didn't realize they died. Attached to location. Unfinished business. Waiting for someone. Afraid to leave. Trapped by belief. Religious programming that they're in purgatory or can't leave until judged. Holding on to physical identity. Don't understand they no longer need physical form. They need help, not exploitation. Transition Assistance Protocol. Stage 1. Establish communication. This isn't ghost hunting. This is consciousness counseling. Approach with respect. You're addressing a being in crisis, not collecting evidence. Clarity. Speak clearly, simply, as you would to a confused person. Compassion. No matter how hostile they seem, they're frightened and lost. Initial contact. I know you're here. I can sense your presence. I'm not here to force you to do anything. I'm here to help if you want help. Can we communicate? Then listen. You might receive emotional impressions, visual flashes, sudden knowing, physical sensations, actual words, rare but possible. Some entities communicate through equipment, spirit box, EVP, that's fine, but remember, it's a person you're talking to, not an evidence source. Stage 2. Clarify their situation. Many entities are confused about what happened to them. Gently establish, do you know what happened to you? Do you remember dying? Do you understand you no longer have a physical body? Do you know how much time has passed? Some died centuries ago and think it's still their lifetime. Telling someone from 1847 that it's 2025 can be destabilizing. Go slow. Others died recently and are in shock. They need acknowledgement and grounding. Stage 3. Address what's keeping them. Ask, what are you waiting for? What do you need before you can leave? Is there something holding you here? Common responses. I'm waiting for a person. That person likely already died and transitioned. The entity needs to know they can reunite on the other side, not by staying in a physical location. Or they'll respond with, I have to tell them something. If possible, facilitate the message delivery with discretion. Often once the message is communicated, the entity can release. Or you'll hear, I don't know where to go. They need guidance toward the threshold. There's, I'm afraid, of judgment, hell, non-existence, the unknown. Address the specific fear with gentle reassurance. Stage 4. Facilitate transition. Once the entity is willing, invoke transition assistance. Call in guides, angels, deceased loved ones of the entity. If you know the entity's name, say it. With, I call upon those who love you and have gone before. I call upon your guides, your angels, your higher wisdom. Show this being the pathway home. Make the way clear and safe. Create a visual pathway. Many entities need to see where to go. Help them. Look for the light. Look for the opening. Look for someone you recognize who's already crossed over. They're there. They're waiting for you. If you're clairvoyant, you may actually see guides or deceased relatives appear for the entity. Describe what you see. It helps them locate it. Encourage movement. You're safe. It's time to go. Walk toward the light. Move toward the voices calling you. You're going home. Complete the transition. You'll know when it happens. The space shifts, pressure releases, temperature normalizes. The presence is gone. Thank the guides who assisted. Close the portal you opened for transition. The pathway is closed. Only those meant to move through have moved through. This location is now cleared. Stage 5. Clear the space. Even after a successful transition, residual energy remains, like heat signature after someone leaves a room. Do standard clearing, salt, smoke, sound, light, to remove residue. What if they refuse to leave? Some entities are hostile, attached, or unwilling to transition. Do not attempt forced removal unless you're trained. Options. Boundary setting. You may stay in this location, but you may not harm or frighten the living residents. These boundaries are absolute. You will respect them. Some entities calm down when given clear rules. You can call in professional help, an experienced medium, shamanic practitioner, or a priest trained in deliverance work. Know your limits. In extreme cases, vacate the location. Some entities are beyond amateur help. If you're a resident experiencing ongoing hostile haunting, moving may be safer than attempting DIY clearing. Critical point. You're helping a conscious being navigate one of the most significant transitions they'll experience. This is sacred work. If you approach it with ego, curiosity, or desire for evidence, you'll fail, and possibly make things worse. If you approach with genuine compassion and willingness to serve, transition becomes possible. The entity feels the difference in your intention. Act accordingly. Part 4. When to call experienced help. Know your limits. Some situations are beyond amateur capability. Attempting intervention when you're not prepared doesn't make you brave, it makes you reckless. Call experienced practitioners when physical manifestation escalates, like objects moving, physical touches, visible apparitions, property damage. This indicates an entity with significant energetic power. They can affect physical reality. They can affect you. If you don't have training in managing higher power consciousness, don't engage. And possession symptoms appear when someone in the location exhibits lost time or memory gaps, speaking in voices not their own. They have knowledge they shouldn't possess, and personality changes not explained by psychology, an aversion to sacred objects or language, and physical changes. unusual strength, different facial features. This is not mental illness, though that should be ruled out first with medical evaluation. This is consciousness boundary breach, which requires an experienced deliverance practitioner immediately. Priest, shaman, experienced medium trained in extradition work, not a YouTube ghost hunter, not an amateur investigator. Another would be the entire household is affected. Multiple residents experiencing nightmares with shared energy, simultaneous health decline, relationship deterioration, financial collapse, substance abuse emerging, suicidal ideation. When a haunting creates systemic life collapse for everyone in the location, you're dealing with powerful, hostile consciousness. This requires team intervention, multiple practitioners working on coordinated clearing. There's also historical indicators of extreme darkness. A location history can include ritual murder or sacrifice, sustained torture, mass death, intentional occult workings by prior occupants, or geographic positioning on a known power site. These locations may have multi-layered consciousness issues, like traumatized human entities, intentionally summoned non-human entities, energetic vortex effects from land itself, and portals that were opened and never closed. Do not investigate alone. Do not investigate without an expert team. And if your protection fails, if you enter with full protection protocols and experience a shield-shattering sensation, an overwhelming terror beyond normal fear, a physical paralysis, consciousness disconnecting from your body, attachment that persists despite clearing attempts, you're outmatched. Leave. Seek help. This isn't failure. This is survival. Where to find experienced help? Vetted practitioners are shamanic practitioners with verified training. Check lineage and avoid weekend workshop shamans. There are mediums with demonstrated ability. Ask for references, evidence of successful clearings. There are priests trained in exorcism and deliverance, Catholic, Orthodox, or denominations with formal training programs. And there are energy workers with 10+ years experience in entity work. Red flags, guarantees of instant clearing, demands for large upfront payments, a dramatic performance instead of focused work, claims of supreme power or special chosen status, and unwillingness to explain their methods. Real practitioners are humble, clear about limitations, transparent about process, and focused on helping rather than performing. And some locations should never be investigated. Sites of active occult practice by skilled practitioners. You don't know what you're walking into. As well as sites with known high entity density with violent history, concentration camps, mass execution sites, ancient battlefields. Locations where multiple investigators have been seriously harmed. And places that feel fundamentally wrong, even from outside. If every instinct screams, "Don't enter," listen. Curiosity is not worth your sanity, health, or life. Some doors should stay closed.
Welcome back. You know, I spend a lot of time in this studio going over my own investigations, going over other people's investigations, just to see what could be done different, to see who's doing what right, and to see who's leaving a lot of doors open where skepticism or criticism could be filtered in. Because sometimes, and I hate to say it because I'm not a skeptic, well, I mean, I'm skeptical to not jump and believe at everything. But I'm not a diehard skeptic that goes in and tries to pick these things apart. A lot of times I watch for entertainment purposes because I might have taken a break from a video or from my own research. And the more that I do this, the more I realize that the modern sciences, even though they don't view paranormal research as a science, the existing mainstream sciences do apply. Everything is ruled by the laws of the universe. Regardless of whether you believe in string theory or you believe in the multiverse theorem or you believe in quantum entanglement and quantum or temporal fluctuations in the universe. It's amazing to watch some of these people work. And sometimes it's just funny. I look for both because, well, who has too much humor and too much laughter in their lives? Not I. I could always use more. One more reason to smile, one more reason to pat somebody on the back, and one more reason to go, no. The more we study, the more we investigate, the more we research into the paranormal, we come closer and closer to making paranormal research a mainstream science. Not just its own entity that the sciences apply to, but its own science. And I can't wait. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. God bless you, God love you, we do. And happy hunting.